This is episode 240 of our show. It's a big one. I don't know. It's a tentpole episode. You know, they always say episode 240 is where the rubber meets the road. You know, like this is where your podcast
True.
either takes off or
Right.
doesn't.
Which is a great thing to say because the 240SX from Nissan is the greatest car ever made.
And
So
not in the test drive game.
no, and not in the test drive game. Yeah, good
So
memory. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I don't know much about cars, but I'm pretty sure he's mentioned this one
He's
before. I
mentioned
think
that
this
one, but
might.
that's
This might.
that's the only car I know, so that's why
There
it's the
you
best
go.
car.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a couple of new things to talk about for this week, so that'll be fun. But before we do that, I did have a game I was going to have you and Dan play, but Dan couldn't make it tonight. By the way, he's streaming, so if you guys, he streams pretty regularly, so go check him out on
Yeah.
Dapper_Chocobo on Twitch. It's always a good time. Retro Games, it's very friendly over there. It's a good group that he has chatting together with him while he games.
I don't know what he's doing this
Good
particular
people.
moment, but I know he's
Mhm.
going through Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
remasters right now. So
Yeah, when he gets to 6, I'm tuning in. So
same.
I
I
can
am serious. I'm gonna
join in on
start.
that one.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
start 6 when he starts it, just so we can
So good.
we can gab about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been threatening to start that game for too many weeks now. I bought it like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna start you, and I'm like, what am I kidding? I'm gonna start you right before I buy 17 games this month. That's what I'm gonna do. All right.
I like how you say it like you're teasing it. Like I'm gonna start you.
I'm gonna start you.
I'm gonna do it.
You just be patient.
So this is a game that listen. I'm not big into the trendy. Well, I guess the trends that are happening on social media and whatever else. But sometimes when it really hits big and it looks fun, it's like, hey, let's do a version of that for our show. And so I've seen this on social media, but also even like Jimmy Fallon has done this. It's just a fun little game that he'll have guests do, and it's an easy one when you don't have a group to play together. It's just like one person can do it. So if you've heard of these before, I'm sure blind rankings. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have a list of top 5 here. I'll share my screen in a second. There'll be 5 blanks, and you're only going to be given one option at a time, and you have to put that in one of the spots, and it's locked in there. You can't move it because you don't know what games are coming next.
Oh, okay, yeah. I love this.
I'm gonna pick a random I got a bunch of categories. Maybe I'll do 2. We'll see if it goes quick. Maybe 3 for you this week, and then in future weeks we'll do it for each other. But the idea is you don't know what's coming next. You don't know if I've handpicked really great ones or if I've given you the best one first. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm trying to do it relatively randomly, but also trying to just have a little fun with it. So I'll share my screen and show you this blank blind rankings list. And then I'll tell you what, as I'm pulling this up, you get to decide. I'll let you decide between a couple of categories to start with.
Okay.
You can either pick best so it's a video game franchise music. So not just from one game, but like which of these franchises has the best overall music or score, however you want to think of it. Okay. So music, or let's do characters. Consider that however you want to. You get to, I mean, this is you putting this together. So best video game characters, and that will be for individual games, not franchises. So you think about that while I bring up my screen. Tell me when you can see this little list, blind rankings.
That's perfect.
All right. So what we're going to do, let me move this up a little bit out of the way. There we go. All right. So which category do you want to go with? And I will bring
music. Let's do music.
Music?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do franchise music. There we go. So everyone can see that's the list that we're making here. Okay. All right. So let's get to our options. Excuse me. I truly am just like the first one that my eyes settle on, because I have some franchise logos, but they're all spread out in this folder. So I don't have like a planned order of trying to trick you with these. This is like the first one my eyes see that I knew I wanted to.
So when I ultimately feel tricked, I can't get mad at you. Okay.
You can't.
All right.
This is me hedging my bets, so you can't get mad. Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. By the way, if anyone's wondering, I use this tool called BeFunky. It's very much like a Photoshop Lite, and I do pay like the premium, which is really cheap. It's like a few bucks a month. But anyway, it's a really great photo editing, graphic designer, and also you can do fun stuff like this. So I think BeFunky is a great tool. Okay, especially if you don't have money for all the Adobe tools, which are crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's bring over your first option that you're going to have to rank. Here we go. Where did it go? All right, here we go. Oh, wait, hang on. There we go. What's it doing? It's Zelda. You can see that it's Zelda.
Yep.
I don't know why it's there. We go. I just did it wrong. My bad.
Okay, Zelda.
All right, so Zelda. I'm just gonna let it sit kind of on top here until you decide where you want to put it.
Oh my God. I want to say this is sacrilege. I want to say 3. Put it on third.
At 3.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda at 3. You heard it here, folks. It's the third best music.
Yeah, the first best game to come out last year, but the third best.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, here comes your option number 2. Why does he keep replacing? I got to figure out how to do this in the proper way.
Uncharted.
Uncharted.
It's got to be under Zelda, though. I'm gonna put that at 5.
5. Okay, let me try to lock these layers and see if that helps us with the issues that I'm having here.
Uncharted's got some great music. I'll tell you that. I have the theme like playing in my head right now. You know, it's
of course with Zelda. You know, dun, dun, dun,
yeah, Zelda's just like too good. Zelda probably deserves to be at 2 or 1.
Well,
but
I'm saving.
Yeah, I know it's locked in. Yeah,
it's locked in.
I'm saving myself for other.
You said
games.
4 for Uncharted, right?
Let's say 5. 5 for Uncharted.
You said 5 for Uncharted. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Here comes the next one.
Okay.
Where did it go? I had a good one. Okay, here we go.
Doom. Oh, yeah, that deserves to be under Uncharted, so that sucks. So we'll put that at 4. Love the 2018, right?
2018, yeah. 2016, the reboot.
2016, thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh, the music in that's so good. I'm sure the music would have been good in the other one too, but that game sucks, so I didn't play all the way through it. That's right. Yeah. I said it out loud.
You did just say that. You did indeed just say that.
Those are words that were said.
All right, here comes your next option.
Oh, this sucks.
Super Mario.
I'm not overly partial to Super Mario music, even though it's very good. So I guess I have to put it at 2. But that's insane. That's insane. This is an insane list. I'm not gonna get mad.
I'm not gonna get mad. All right. Last but not least, I have a whole bunch of options, so you're not even seeing all the, like in the future there'll be other ones. This, by the way, is not me saying here's the 5 best. These are just 5.
You just
franchises.
Pick these randomly, yeah.
These are all randomly selected. So here's one. Boom.
That feels right.
The Persona series, if you're just listening.
That feels right. Yeah.
Is locked in at number 1.
It has to be at number 1, and I'm not mad about that, even though, it's, Zelda probably deserves to be at the top of this list specifically.
Kyle's blind rankings of best franchise
and this is why I have to
change
my whole personality to fit this now, right? Those are the rules.
You do.
Okay,
you do.
Shit.
You're very locked in, so I'm sorry to say it. But number 1, you've got Persona series, and then Super Mario, and then Zelda, and then Doom, and then Uncharted for the best franchise music.
To quote Persona song, you never see it coming. So just like you don't see these blind rankings coming.
All right, let's do another category here. Let's do so you can either do characters, which I mentioned before, or you can select MMO, which is timely because we'll be talking about an MMO today.
Let's do that. Yeah, that's on topic. Yeah.
Best MMO. All right. So here are some MMOs to choose from in a very random order. Here we go. There's one. Guild Wars 2.
Okay. I'll put that at 5.
I'll move this over so I have space for these. All right, Guild Wars 2 at 5.
I do like some Guild Wars, but it's
I believe that's also NCSoft, right? Who did the one that we'll talk about today?
Yeah, they at least produced. I know a Korean dev did the game that we're going to talk about tonight, but NCSoft helped localize it or produce it or something like that. Yeah, they were very hands-on.
Okay, fair enough. All right, here comes one a few people may have heard of before. Ultima Online.
Oh wow, okay. I'll put that
is the
at
OG.
4. That is the OG, man. Yeah, I don't have a lot of affinity for that game, but I respect it because of its OG status.
Yeah, it is definitely the OG.
Did you ever play this one?
I did not.
No? Yeah.
No, didn't get into that one. All right, here we go. World of Warcraft.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna put it at 2 just in case we get a good one that surprises us here.
Okay. You spent a lot of time You spent some time with WoW, didn't you?
Hundreds, if not up to 1,000 hours of that game. Yeah.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time with WoW.
Played that for many, many, many years. Yeah.
All right, here comes one you might be familiar with. Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Let's put that at 1. Let's put it at 1.
Number 1. Still
just
so
the greatest
fun
single-player MMORPG of all time.
Yeah, still so fun to play.
I still pick up that game and play it today, and I'll just be like, yeah. Like right now, I'm working on like an Imperial officer like run through, because I've never done it. I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's do that.
Yep. Well, the last one I was bringing in is this fella, City of Heroes.
That's number 1.
Which is at your number 3. It's officially number 3, Kyle.
Okay, all right. I'm not gonna get mad about it. We're gonna do breathing exercises.
Yeah.
God damn. That's what I was really waiting for, City of Heroes.
Yeah.
That's my favorite MMO like all time, period.
So there you go. Blind rankings. You've got, by the way, the top 3. You can make an argument any of those could be a number 1 for a lot of people. Star Wars, World of Warcraft, City of Heroes, Ultimate Online, the OG, if you grew up playing that especially. And then Guild Wars 2 is really is cream of the crop, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. But
yeah, I think it's still going too. I think people still play Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so let's clear these. And let's give you one more. Let's go ahead and go with the best characters in the game. So I'm going to give you a bunch of, these are individual games, not across a whole franchise. So you might have a franchise entry, right, from a whole series of games, but specifically from that entry of a game. Those are the ones that are eligible. All right, here we go.
I gotcha.
Number 1, the 5th best game last year.
So
Baldur's
rude.
Gate 3.
I've told you I'm not going to get mad, but that may have pushed me to getting real mad. Baldur's Gate 3. These are great. Let's put it at number 2.
Number 2. Okay. All right. Baldur's Gate 3 at number 2. All right. Here comes the second one. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Jesus Christ. Put that at 1.
2. All right.
Yeah, put that at 1. It's got
Arthur.
maybe some of the best characters ever.
Yeah. So good. So memorable.
So good. Yeah.
Okay, here comes. Oh, where did it go? Okay, there it is. There it is. You'll be familiar with this game as well.
Oh, rude. 2. So rude. Put it at 3. That's so rude. Mass Effect 2. God.
Mass Effect 2.
Arguably, probably the greatest cast of video game characters of all time, I guess, depending on what corner of the internet you're looking at,
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument for it. That is for sure. All right, here's one I definitely wanted to include at some point. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Wow, these are some characters. These are some really good games. Let's put that. Let's put that at 5. But I like all the man. Oh man, this is tough.
A lot of good characters.
I like this. This is nice.
Yeah,
I like this game.
All right, and your automatic for number 4, the one I was gonna bring in last, is Telltale's The Walking Dead game series.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's gonna sit at 4.
That game has like some legendary characters. Yeah. Okay.
It does indeed. So Kyle's blind rankings of best games with characters, whatever you want to call them, characters in a game. Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Mass Effect 2. That's a great top 3. Yeah. You got Walking Dead and Grand Theft Auto 5 as well. That's solid.
Perfect. Yeah.
Pretty solid entries. So, all right. So there you go. There is our first stab at some blind rankings. Kyle, how do you feel that you did?
That last one left a really good taste in my mouth because the first 2 I kind of want to punch somebody. So yeah, no, it's a really fun game. I like that. It's kind of got like a kill your babies vibe where you're like,
it does.
You're kind of having to like shoot in the dark, like where something is. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So we're gonna make Dan do that with maybe some
I would love to
Final Fantasy or just in general like JRPGs.
Oh, I would love just a Final Fantasy one just to watch him squirm.
Because he doesn't know if what if I do one that doesn't include his faves?
What if 7's not on there? Yeah.
What if 7's not on there? Then he's stuck putting 6 at the top.
Yeah, we got him, and it's like you have to change your everything about yourself now. You're a Kefka guy now.
We've got it on video. So anyway, there you go. There's some current gen blind rankings. Thanks, Kyle, for playing along. Hey, speaking of playing, I know you and I have been spending a lot of time playing some Starfield recently. Mm-hmm. I got back into it last weekend, right before the launch of the game, and you got into it, I think, even a week earlier than that to kind of get things going. But Shattered Space has released the DLC, and I know that it's got, at best, mixed reviews from both critics and fans alike, but I got to tell you, I'm really glad that this game wasn't available early for reviews to kind of like kill my buzz and excitement for it.
I agree, yeah.
Because I was able to jump in and, number one, I hadn't really gotten super far in New Game Plus. I was still really early in that second run through. I just kind of did the opening few pieces and then I had stopped playing. So I got to really play a whole bunch of the base game again, which was really fun. I was like, oh yeah, these characters, and man, things look a lot better, and boy, does it play smoothly now on PC, and so I'm just really enjoying it, and I made some good progress in that, and then I went and triggered the mission that will send you to this new planet for Shattered Space.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, man, I am really enjoying it. It's not without its share of Bethesda-ness. Like sometimes my companion will just sprint full into the wall until I reload the area for some like little things like that, like where they don't quite do what they're supposed to do, or maybe like a vendor. This one vendor in the city loaded in the storage room, and he won't come out of the storage room.
Oh, mine too. He's behind the plastic
and he always hates me. I'm just like he always wants me to leave. He wants me to get out of there. But
I didn't see him the first couple times. Like, so there's nobody manning the shop.
There's no one here.
And then, like finally I saw him back there. I'm like, what are you doing back here?
He's like, get out.
And it's like off to the side. It's obviously loaded wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the asset's
or there was
obviously
some kind of passing that didn't complete where he's supposed to walk out of there.
Because he's like way off to the side. Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah. So I get some of those Bethesda-y moments. None of them, number one, have been game breaking. None of them have ruined my fun specifically. It's things that I've chuckled at here and there. But that's pretty much it. And so I want to get your thoughts first. You've been much more of a Bethesda fan than I have for a long time, although I know we both loved Starfield last year. I know we're both really enjoying this DLC. So spoiler alert for anyone who's tuning in, hoping to hear yet another, in my opinion, like charlatan style podcast where they just like to tear everything down. Sorry, we love most things that we play. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. And we try not to spend too much time on stuff we hate. Yeah.
Exactly. Like we might criticize it and say, no, I stopped playing that, but in this case, we're spending a lot of time playing it because we're liking it. So if you don't want to hear about this, no problem. Skip ahead to the next thing. But Kyle, give me some of your thoughts on Shattered Space. What are the things that jump out at you, and how do you think they've improved?
So I feel like they took everything that everyone said online to heart and then crafted an expansion that everyone just hated anyways, because like it's handcrafted, so it's not procedural or anything like that. It feels like whenever you're outside of the city and you're walking around, it feels like an old like Bethesda game, where it's like, oh, there's a cave over here, there's this over here, and like there's just way more stuff in the world than there was when you just land on a random planet and kind of walk around. It feels like a populated planet with things to do in a populated space that I still haven't even seen all of yet. It's a big area,
lots of like little bases and
absolutely
little farms and all these little pockets of things to go explore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I really liked that. I thought that was really cool. And again, everyone wanted more Varun stuff. We didn't hear anything about this faction. You getting all that?
Ooh, you're getting a lot of it.
You get so much of it. Yeah. And it's just I don't know. I just feel like they did all the things that everyone cried about, and then everyone was still like, nah, it's too late. So that's a shame. Apparently the bugs are pretty bad, especially on PC. It sounds like they're real bad. So that is a shame. I have
for me, it's just been one of the things that I described at the beginning. It's just been these little hiccup type moments.
I'm glad it hasn't been more for you. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't had any crashes. You know what I mean? I haven't had any like major issues, just like you. And the worst, it's just some kind of like character, sometimes standing like up on their stall instead of like in it. I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. But like that's every Bethesda game. I played Skyrim like a few weeks ago, and like there's a guy in Riften that was doing that. So I'm like, this just must be part of their code. I don't know. Yeah. And I'm liking the game a lot. I like. Oh, and that's the other thing is they wanted more. Like people wanted more like spacey sci-fi stuff. Like this is hardcore sci-fi. We're dealing with like something happened and it may have like split reality for some people, and like I don't really know much else of that, so I can't even spoil it if I wanted to. It sounds like you might be a little further than me. But right now I'm kind of dealing with all the house's individual problem to get them to answer the council. And I'm like, I'm on the third and final house of that. That thing.
I'm actually not that far ahead. I just finished that one and I'm on to the stuff right after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I'm really liking that, and I like all the side stuff too. There's been some really cool stories, and a lot of the missions are like long. It's like, hey, you're gonna go here and go there and go here. And there's a lot, absolutely. And you're hitting like these kind of like narrative snags along the way, like, oh, the guy I was looking for is dead, and oh, do I need to tell him he needs to fake his own death or save it? There's just a lot of really interesting decisions that kind of play into the morality of the story and how much you're willing to like I don't know, be a blind believer in this like totally ridiculous faith.
Of the great serpent guiding you.
Yeah.
How much do I want to play along with this thing?
Yeah. And I've decided I played along, but like only to a certain extent. Like at some point halfway through the conversation, I'm like, all right, let's just cut the chase here.
I'll tell you what though, Kyle. I'm
this
feeling the
you.
pressure from my my video game boo, Andreja, who's with me, and I don't want to let her down.
I don't want to let her down. Yeah.
She believes in all this serpent nonsense, and so I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, totally. Faith is important, and I kind of look.
I am always that's it, and I guess that's my other one qualm is that like not one time has she even made a mention that she's on the home planet that she wasn't allowed to go back to.
Yes, she has chimed in convos, but
which I do like.
She hasn't been like, whoa, I'm back home. I was hoping for something.
Yeah, I do like that. Like when you're in the middle of a convo, like she can answer for you, and it's always a conversation pass. You know, so if like if you're instead of persuading, if you have her with you, like she can win a lot of that stuff for you. I love that they thought of that. True. Why not go the extra mile? And drop one line of dialogue about her being like, I'm not supposed to be here. This is wild. Right. You know.
By the way, New Game Plus, there's sometimes it doesn't show up super consistently, but sometimes there's let's just call it a New Game Plus dialogue option as well.
Starborn option,
sometimes it does a lot, sometimes it just kind of gets a different response, but I think sometimes it also works in place of a persuade, because I gotta tell you, even though I've got my persuade skill leveled up a bit, so I want more successful persuasion, it still can be challenging. Like, dude,
mine's like
it's tough.
Practically all the way full, and like I still fail yellow checks sometimes. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what did I put all these points in this
for? What I've been trying to figure it out, and tell me if you think this is right. I do think the character gives you clues as to like what thing would actually work on them. I don't think it's just it could be a roll of the dice. I feel like it actually makes sense, like which one, like if one person is clearly just self-interested and wants to survive, just use the persuasion that talks about, you don't want to die today, do you? As opposed to,
like you don't, instead of, hey, you don't want to get a bunch of people in trouble.
Yeah, you don't want, you just want to do the right thing. That's not going to work, but saving yourself work. I feel like that's kind of worked a little bit, but I don't know.
You might be right about that. Yeah, I know that it's green, yellow, red, and those are like have the severity of the fail level. But like, I think there might be an extra level that you're talking about that like appeasing to the person in front of you. Because I've failed a green before. I'm like, I didn't think that was possible, and like, but there were two greens there. Maybe I just picked the wrong one. You know.
I do think like it'd be almost nice to see if there is truly like a little random counter, a little roll of the dice, a little D&D type thing. I'm like, show me the dice like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
like I want to see.
I want to see the dice all the time now. Yeah.
Yeah, show them to me. Show them to me.
I don't believe this make believe stuff going on in the background. I want to see the dice.
I will say this. I think the game looks really pretty. This whole new area looks really cool. They have a lot of neons and glowing things that are happening.
Like the skybox is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not quite as like there's actually a city called Neon, and so like I'm not saying none of the other areas looked really cool. They did. This one just really, like you mentioned, everything from the plant life to there's a lot of variety of animals that are here, some that will attack you, and also the enemies, there's a little more variety. There's kind of these ghost things, there's still your pirates, and there's your zealots, and then there's your creatures, and there's all kinds of different things that you fight, and there's a new enemy type that's really tough that you need some of these new laser weapons to really handle better, because there are a few new weapon types. You can use whatever weapon you want. Like if you've got a great weapon and it's doing a ton of damage, you're going to do fine. But they have these new like laser rifles. I forget exactly what they're called. But those actually do really good damage to some of the new like redeemed enemies that are coming at you. Because those guys are tough, swinging their swords at you like maniacs. But But yeah. So, but overall, I think that the game looks really good. I still think it's funny. Some characters are more expressive than others. Like a lot of them just kind of have dead eyes, but they're still expressing. So it's very strange.
Yeah.
But it's also like it's fine. It doesn't ruin it for me. I get that some people don't like that, but
well, and this is just the template, you know. Like, and you know, if people are growing old, but that's the template. I would take that criticism a lot easier than like some of the other criticisms that I hear people like throwing around. You know, like because it is something they've been doing since Oblivion, you know what I mean? Like,
fair enough.
These talking heads with like not a lot of animation, like dead, like fish eyes, you know, like
it's gotten better. Like
zoom in on
their
that.
brow
I think it
will
does.
furrow.
Yeah, you see a lot more of their face moving and stuff like that. But like, you know, it is a similar, you know, thing that maybe people are tired of, you know. But like, that's okay to say that, you know. I think that's better than just being like, hey, I watch a streamer who hates this game, so I hate it too. I think that's a weird, you know, maybe way to live your life. But
no, man, guys, you should just try it. It's a really fun first-person shooter, action RPG, exploration, sci-fi. Like, if any of those genres appeal to you, I think they do a good job in all of it. If you like Bethesda games, then you'll like this one.
This reminds me, if like, maybe you played the main game and like, you're not sure you want to play more of this or whatever. There's a moment in the game where you're dealing with kind of like a slipping reality. It's like a side mission where like, you're slipping in between two different realities to like turn off a reactor in a ship. And like this is like that idea, but just like way expanded out with like lots of little side stories that are leading and feeding into it and stuff like that. So if you like those harder sci-fi moments of Starfield, in which there were very few, I will admit, this is just that. So I feel like you are getting that finally. I mean, you're talking to space ghosts in this thing. Like it's hard fantasy, it's hard fi, the fiction part of the sci, so.
It's funny because between this game and Echoes of Wisdom, I'm dealing with two games that had some kind of event happen where rifts took people away from their families and city. You know what I mean?
You didn't know Hyrule, they worship the Great Serpent there. I didn't know.
It's the Great Serpent. They do keep talking to Zelda about that. I'm like, this is weird. But I will say this too, there are some side missions that I forgot how much I didn't forget, but it's nice to be reminded of how much I really enjoyed some of the side threads and everything from The Witcher 3 to what was the original Starfield game, of course, too. But some of these games that just do a great job of weaving you through a story, and you almost forget that there's a main storyline you're supposed to get back to. And this has done that. Like there was a whole mission I just finished. I stayed up way too late last night doing it because I just really wanted to see it through. It was I forget what the mission's called. It's like this, the Lost Fang or something like that. Have you done that one?
I don't think so, no.
You have to travel southwest of the town, and then you'll get to like this temple, and you have to fight your way inside. And then there's a lady who's injured, and their family relics have been stolen. It's a boost pack, armor, and a gun, a special laser gun. And so, and she sends you on a mission to go recover it. And it almost reminds me a little bit of like the enemies, at least, and the audio logs they leave. It's almost like a Mad Max or like a Borderlands, where the bad guys are just wacky and crazy and wearing it like costumes, and like it's a little different. It was a really cool touch. I liked that one.
That's
cool. Of course, you get the things back. You try to convince her dad to allow her to restore them so she can use them. I've heard. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I've heard that you can actually get her to, like, you can trigger her to show up with that gear, and if you really want it, you could kill her and take it. But
that's what I'm talking about.
But that kind of storyline was really cool. There was the other one where the lady at the store wanted you to find her brother in this refinery. I haven't done that one
yet, but I picked that one up.
I recommend it. It's got some like legit, I would say, minor horror vibes as you're going through there. Like all of a sudden, something like Russian in front of you. Like, well, what was that? Like there'll be that.
That first mission on the Oracle space station was very horror. Like it opens up in a horror vibe,
That's
So yeah, there is some cosmic horror stuff going on here.
Yep. Some of those side missions really take you on a fun ride, both the story and experiences.
I did a really fun side mission that it must have been 2.5 hours, like the whole thing or whatever. And it was about like a missing shipment, and like you're checking up on somebody who ends up getting killed, and like it unravels all this stuff.
A really fun warehouse fight with all the shelves and stuff.
Yes. And you finally like confront like the zealot leader who's like doing this, and I'm like, I just need a name. And like I persuaded him all the way to him giving this name if I let him walk away. And so I got the name, and then I killed him because I wanted the experience.
Yeah, you did.
Why wouldn't I? He's a zealot.
Kyle, I did that one, and I failed at persuading him, and so he said, "I'm going to kill you." So like I had to kill him anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. Great. I'm killing
it's totally
anyways.
Fine.
He's a zealot. I don't want. You're not supposed to be here. You're way too close to the main city. I'm going to take care of you. The Great Serpent. Yeah, all must serve.
Yeah. Now there's so much dialogue in this, and I can understand if you're like our old buddy Derek, and you don't want to just skip most dialogue, maybe with some exceptions. I would argue that you're actually missing out, and you're shortchanging yourself of a lot of what makes this good. So if you're like, hey, I don't care about character dialogue and storyline, then I still think there's a good gameplay here. I really do. But what makes it really good for me is not because the shooting feels perfect. I think it feels good, but it's not enough that I would just play a full first-person shooter that felt like this with nothing else. Like, I love the setting. I love the characters. I love the powers. I love all that stuff. And I feel like the dialogue is really well written, and it's really, for the most part, the voice acting feels pretty good, and I'm very invested.
I think all that stuff is great. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very invested in the story. You know what I mean? Like I want to know what happens. There's certain houses that I kind of now like or don't like.
Yeah.
There's some backstabbing, of course, and a little bit of political maneuvering happening between each of them, and who's using some outside force perhaps to like get leverage over the other houses.
Yeah, so, get a little extra. I'm doing that one right now. I really like that. Very Game of Thronesy, you know.
Very Game of Thrones.
There is
like,
a lot
of
like
back?
factions and who are you gonna back? Who's the least slimy or who's the most slimy? What kind of character are you playing? You know, so
a lot of that like, hey, go save this person, and then their lieutenant pulls you aside and is like, actually need you to kill them, and here's why, and you have to like decide, am I saving or killing? Or this guy who wants to like execute his son, and then people are pulling you aside, telling you do or really don't or whatever. Like, sorry, this
no one agrees in these houses. Yeah, it's also everyone's got a second agenda. It's very cool. I do love navigating the politics of that, and this is like, if we love Far Harbor, like for Fallout 4, you know,
how would Dan say it?
Bahaba.
There you go.
And like, if you like Dawnguard, like those tentpole like DLC moments in Bethesda that everyone loved, like this is that. It really is. And like, I know the reviews don't reflect that, but I think if you really like the game and you really want more content, you're getting some of the best content you can get out of this game.
That's right.
Because I've hit so many moments, even the duel with the brothers or whatever. Like, that's like an hour of like no action. You're just in this like dialogue after dialogue after dialogue, and if that's your jam, it is my jam. It sounds like it's your jam. You're getting great writing and great storytelling.
And decisions to make.
And decisions to make. Yeah, absolutely. So like, I don't know. I just feel like, just give it a try if you've had any kind of interest in this game at all.
Yep.
There's more good stuff to experience in it, and I hope that there's more big DLC like this. It sounds like enough people are playing that I don't really like. These bad reviews don't really scare me off too much. I think it's full steam ahead in Bethesda with whatever they're planning this game roadmap wise. So I don't think anything's going to stop that.
I agree, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I think it's okay to be positive about stuff that you're enjoying, and I think this is really good. I think the criticisms of the technical stuff, pretty valid from the first time I played it, and then they fixed most of it. I don't think I've experienced most of the stuff I experienced in the base game. And with this DLC, there's also moments that I've noticed on PC. I'm like, okay, all right, that was a little janky. That moment was, but for the most part, it works and runs super smoothly. I've got it running at 100 FPS consistently, and it's super smooth. I haven't noticed any dips. I've just noticed some kind of janky or glitchiness here or there. Like, and it usually has to do with NPC behavior. It could be an enemy that all of a sudden just sprints out of the fight and then goes and lays down on their bunk. I'm like, what just happened? Like, there's been 1 or 2 moments like that. I'm like,
yeah, I actually have seen that. Yeah, I went into like a little temple area where I killed like the main guy, and all the other guys stood up, his posse, and then they just sat right back down, and I just like shot them while they sat there, and I'm like, y'all are bad guys. Like, I wasn't killing NPCs, like, so yeah, there's
I did notice some new dialogue that either I forgot or it's new, and that is when I'm fighting a whole group of enemies and I take one of them out, I'll hear one of them yell like, I didn't like him anyway, and they'll keep fighting. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I've heard it said twice now. I'm like, that is so good. It reminded me of the Halo games a little bit, as the little guys are like talking smack.
Yeah, absolutely. The grunts are the best NPC like smack talkers in gaming history for sure.
I agree. Yeah, so I'm really digging it, man. I'm gonna finish this probably this weekend. We'll see if I get
episode 2. Yeah, I didn't get as much time with it as I wanted to today, but I got like 3 or 4 hours, and I'm liking it. There seems like there's a lot there if you're doing all the side stuff. Seems like a lot of content.
I think it's fair to say this: if you like Starfield, play Shattered Space. It's more of it, and it's better, and it's really good. If you already don't like Starfield and you're just already kind of negative on it, and you refuse to have fun for whatever reason the first time through, no problem. Yeah. Don't bother with the DLC either. Like, don't bother.
Yeah, right. And Gaston brought up that in our group that a lot of people were coming into this thinking that this was like a 2.1.
It's not.
Like, cyberpunk situation. And I'm like, I told him this in the group as well, which I assume he agreed with. I forget kind of the conversation, but like, that's never really happened before ever.
It's so rare.
Yeah, it's happened like maybe a couple times. Final Fantasy 14 comes to mind.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky comes to mind, and Cyberpunk. Like, those are like the 3 that come to mind, in the history of games, And I would also argue that Starfield wasn't in such poor shape that like it needed this reinvention to like, become this, a swan from an ugly ducking or whatever. But like, so yeah, if you're in that camp as well, where you're walking, you think this is going to be a complete revitalization. No, it's just streamlined, a lot of quality of life stuff. Everything's a little more functional, and like that's what you're getting with this. And if that's not enough, that's fine. There's 8,000 games coming out, by the end of the year. So go play one of those,
There's something else for you out there, I promise.
I promise you. Yeah, I promise you there's something out there that you like.
And hey, it's okay if you don't like it, but it's also okay if other people do. You can just kind of like let it go. Right. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay if they like it. It's kind of like when you guys start talking about fighting games or something, and you guys aren't even that into them, but like when you guys were like Mortal Kombat, for example, I'm just like, I don't like it, but guess what? It's okay that you guys do. I'll let you. Yeah. I'll let you. I'm so nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, speaking of a very kind of niche genre, MMO is a space that, other than Star Wars: The Old Republic, previously mentioned during our blind ranking, and man, I don't know if I've played anything else other than that in recent years. I guess I tried New World really briefly when it first launched, just out of curiosity. But that's pretty much it. I haven't really spent any time in MMO space that I can remember, unless I'm forgetting something. But Throne and Liberty is out. I know you and I have talked about this as it was getting closer to launch, because it's, as you mentioned, NCSoft is involved one way or another. It's another Amazon Games production. And it just looked really cool. Like the art style and design and lore kind of looked interesting. So I know you've been playing it, so I want to get your initial thoughts. But I also created a character and played for about an hour today, and I have some thoughts too. So I'm curious what you think about Throne and Liberty so far.
Yeah, it's like a real big mixed bag for me. Like first of all, I really like MMOs. I've played almost every MMO ever to various lengths. Sometimes only like a few hours, and I'm like, nah, no thanks. Sometimes 3 years. So like, but I've almost played every single one, especially a lot of the newer ones. And not a lot grabbed me. Like I'll stick around, like ESO every once in a while. I'll come back and I'll play the expansion because I just like that universe or whatever. But like I don't things don't stick with me for long. I'm always kind of on to the next thing in any genre. There's something here that keeps on bringing me back. It might just be that I'm playing with my friends and like that's what it is, and I'm just enjoying the community part of this. But there are some cool things going on in this game in terms of like its exploration and stuff like that. There's a lot to see. There's a lot of stuff hidden. There's a lot of ways to get around the world, like with the way that your character morphs into different animals and has a hook shot and stuff like that. But like it is a UI nightmare. I think everything is hidden behind thousands of menus. To get to anything, you have to like go multiple menus deep, and it's just like so not streamlined. And like I don't see a lot of people complaining about this online, so maybe this is a Kyle problem, I don't know, but like I just do not finding anything to do in this game very easy at all. And I'm constantly like in my whiniest voice going, how do I do that, to my friends who are playing, like it's just like it's so weird how not in your face some of these mechanics are. And that's like it's mostly like the crafting and upgrading like your gear and upgrading your weapons. It's all just hidden behind all these like really lackluster tutorials and just menus upon menus upon menus.
It's like the quick flash around tour they give you to show you where stuff is, and then that's it. It's like, go figure it out.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff is like you'll have like you're having to do missions for the area that you're in that kind of like fill out your appendix, and when you fill out your appendix you get like gear and like rewards and stuff like that. So it's all about like exploring and experience the stuff kind of section by section, which is cool. I do like that. I do like a lot of the like mechanics of the fighting too. I like that there's no classes, you're just using weapons. You can upgrade your weapons pretty easily.
A little Monster Hunter like in that, I thought, when at the beginning. It's like try out these different weapons and figure out what you like.
And you can carry two around with you. So, like I'm doing big swords and daggers. So like I'm a DPS big sword guy.
I'm doing sword and shield and crossbows.
Cool, nice. The crossbows are super fast. I like them.
Yeah, they're cool.
And so I do like a lot of the combat. I think the combat is fun. They have an active like blocking and parrying system. Your character is kind of auto-attacking a la like WoW or Final Fantasy 14 or that's your average like.
But there's a defensive move that each class has that if you time it right, it'll tell you perfect and
you'll see like a purple or blue aura, on the screen, that's it's block time, that stuff is actually telegraphed pretty well. So like I don't know how you could be so well at communicating stuff on the screen in the combat, but not in your menus. I
haven't gone to any of the crafting stuff yet. I'm too early, I guess, for that part. So I haven't seen any of that. Generally speaking, I don't find the I mean, the overall UI while you're playing is what I expect from an MMO, right? With your hotbar, those things make
Yes,
sense.
that stuff is okay. I think
But
it's like once you press start, like that's
even
where the
yeah,
UI
even
starts
going to
bothering
the
me.
menu, even just to get to where my gear was, I was like, well, that wasn't super intuitive. Like now I know where it is, and I could, but like
Yeah,
it's lacking an intuitive flow to it. That's for sure
right,
on the
right.
menus.
I
Yeah.
bet this is not a problem on PC. Also, you know what I mean. I
What are
think
you
when
playing it on?
I'm playing it on the PS5, so when you
Okay.
bind everything in a controller, I think it is a little like tougher to like. All right, so what do I like
Yeah.
shift to click on this? And there is a lot of like hold down L2 and hit square to like bring up chat. You know, like there's whereas like with the
Oh,
computer,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it's so this might be a console thing like qualm as well. You know,
Did
I
the
said.
did the console give you like the action versus classic option? That might just be PC on the
Oh,
controls.
I don't know. I forget. I think there was an option. I can't really remember though.
At
But
the
yeah.
beginning, they ask you if you want to do classic or action. So classic is more what you expect from a I'm sorry, a mouse and keyboard setup.
Hmm.
Um, and then the action is a little bit more like you have a cursor in the middle of your screen, like you would with a controller, sort of, and where you
Hmm.
look is where you're aiming. And so, like, it's a slight difference, but as you're playing it, it makes a big difference because
Yeah.
it depends on what your like instincts are when you're playing a game like this. So
Yeah.
I've kind of liked it. I thought it was a nice. I tried action, and it makes me feel like it's a little bit more of a action centric MMO than some of the others I've played. I like both.
Yeah.
Like I really do like both, but it's been so long that I kind of forget that yeah, you can't just move out of the way. Like if they hit you and you were there when they triggered the attack, you moving doesn't really mean you're not going to get hit. Like that health is still
Right.
going
There's no
away.
hit box. It's still a lot of
Yeah.
dice rolls in the background, if you will.
Yes. Yeah.
Give me
So I
those
had
dice rolls. Let me see
those kind
them.
of things are weird to adjust to when I'm so used
Yep.
to just responsive. Was I there or not? How did they hit me? Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is an RPG. I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But the world is pretty cool. Have you seen the big giant flying whale yet?
Oh yeah, that opening scene was so. It was funny. My son was watching with me. He was watching me play some Starfield today and some of that, and it
Ooh,
is
good
so
day for
fun.
him.
It is so fun to get a younger kid's like everything is amazing perspective on stuff. It really
Yeah.
helps when I'm feeling cynical.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I had made the mistake of reading some of the criticism of Starfield, and I was like, these people are idiots. I'm gonna go play it and like see like
I'm gonna prove them wrong.
am I gonna prove them wrong? So I'm playing it, and he comes in. He's like, "What are you playing?" And so I started showing him, like, I'm in space, and he liked my Starborn like armor that I had on. He thought that looked really cool, and he was like, "Use that
Mhm.
weapon. Oh, that laser's so cool. Like, oh, that bad guy's scary. Like, everything was amazing."
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
like he thought it was so great. And I was just like, yeah, it is really great. You're right, buddy. This is
Yeah.
really great.
Thank you.
Like, I can explore space. He's like, you can get in your spaceship and fly to space. I was like, yeah, you can. Yeah, let's do it. So
Not once was he like, "Well, you can't drive out of orbit," you know?
no, he did not. He did not because he's seen No Man's Sky and he didn't go,
Yeah.
this isn't like No Man's Sky. He
You
didn't do
can't
that.
if you can't fly, it's not real.
He
Yeah.
just thought it was
Right.
great. And the way you can walk around inside your big old ship and like
Hmm.
decorate inside it, he was like, "Oh, you can make your own bedroom." Like everything's great in his
Yeah.
mind. Like everything's just so great. And so I love that. Same thing happened with Throne and Liberty, where first of all, it's a really pretty game.
It is. Yeah.
It's the visuals on
No
it are
server
very
problems also. For a
impressive.
launch, none. There was no
That's
queues,
crazy.
no crashes,
Is that just because no
nothing.
one's playing it?
There's
Is-
so many people playing this game. It's a huge hit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a
So
big hit.
Amazon was just ready, well, which makes sense, right? Because Amazon kind of owns, but they had trouble with New World though.
They did have
So
trouble with New World, but maybe that was what got them like
to
I don't know,
clean
maybe
some
they
things
learned
up, maybe.
lessons, which is crazy.
Yeah,
The
because
company
Amazon
learned a
like
lesson?
don't they actually like have all their own servers
I
and
think
rent them and
so.
sell them? And so like anyway, so yeah, I didn't have any issues with that. I did get booted because it said that some kind of easy anti cheating or whatever kicked me out. I didn't know why.
You're
Like I was like
cheating. I hear you. Yeah.
I
Okay.
was like, what did I do? What did I
Yeah,
do?
you cheated. Yeah, that's.
And then it let
You're
me right
running
back.
money scripts in the background.
Totally, I am. Yeah, I've got time for that. But I it let me right back in, and it loaded
Yeah.
right back to where I was. It actually did that during a cutscene, which is a bummer because it was that cutscene that takes you to the first main city,
Uh-huh.
and so that whole cutscene is pretty cool as it's kind of giving you a tour of the world, and you're seeing all these
Yep.
different biomes you're going to go visit, and these
Yeah.
bosses, and then all of a sudden it kicked me out, and I'd rejoined, and I loaded back into the city, no problem. But so yeah, I find the combat to be pretty fun. It's what I expect, I think, from an MMO.
Yeah.
So it's more about like, all right, do I want to spend time and get into the groove of this to where it really is clicking, or did I just want to get a taste of it? The jury's still out. I don't know if I am gonna go back
Yeah.
in and spend a lot of time, but it is really cool. I think the setting is neat. It reminds me a little bit of stuff like Dragon's Dogma, where you're special and everyone knows because of a thing you can do. And so it makes you feel like, oh, I'm a special hero. And you look around, you're like, oh, there's hundreds and hundreds of us. Okay, cool.
I
We're
love
all
it when
special.
you're all standing out of the same like door that we're all about to instance into to have our own like you're a special boy moment, you know. But there's like a line of 1,000 people.
Same armor, same weapons.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm a special boy.
I'm a special boy. But yeah, I think it's a really intriguing setup. I do like the grapple hook stuff. You know, it's limited. It's only where there's a preset like location to grapple to. But yeah, some of that stuff's pretty cool. Running and becoming a wolf, and then it seems like at certain times, maybe you've experienced this. There are certain areas where you can then do the air.
As long as
gliding,
you can jump off of any cliff and just pop right into your bird and glide.
Oh, it's not like set in a specific area. It's anywhere.
No. Yeah. So there's a lot of moments like the big whale that's flying around in that cutscene. He's a raid bot or a world boss or whatever. Kinda. It's a world event. So like every once in a while, and it's really cool. The map, another thing that's not very intuitive. It's kind of buried across a lot of like you go to the map, you have to press triangle, then you have to press like L2 3 times to get over to the instant schedule or the event schedule. And I'm like, someone had to tell me that. I would have never found that. I've been playing games for 35 years. I know how to play games, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some very hidden stuff. Anyways, but like the intuitive part of that is that there is a schedule of every world event that's happening. And like if you're eligible to participate in it. So like, hey, I want to do this event. Okay, I know that at this time on the server it's going to happen, so I can prepare for it. And the whale event is a flying whale that flies around the entire map, and you can get up on a high perch, use your glide power to get on top of it, and then mine ore on top of it, this special ore that you use for crafting and stuff like that.
Very cool.
So so like you and hundreds of other people are all getting on this like whale, and it's cool. This is the part I love about MMOs, is just like looking around in that moment that you are all standing like goons outside of a door. I like that. We're all just standing here together doing the same thing. Yeah, we're all being told we're special boys or whatever, but like we're all here together doing the thing. And even I don't talk to anybody. They're not in my party. I just like that you're there. And it is cool when you're on top of like a giant like space whale, like, you know, mining, you know, stuff off its back and stuff like that. And big world bosses, you know, you all fly in together and fight big world bosses. World events and competitions, like, hey, we need to stop this thing from happening, so we have to kill all these goblins in this area, pick up their like items and put it in the pyres to like show them that this is not, you're not supposed to be here or whatever. There's another one where it's like kill the most wolves and get tails, and hundreds of people flock to this area to kill wolves. It's mass genocide for these poor wolves. and it ranks you like there is a winner. There's like
someone starts running and turns into a wolf, like, wait, no, it's just me.
Stop, no, it's me, buddy. Yeah. And so like everyone's in this area, hundreds of people killing wolves, and like you get ranked, you know, like the first person who gets first place, you know, gets a big prize, and second, third, yada yada. So there is a lot of cool stuff going on. It is everything you want and assume will be in an MMO is in this. It's not doing anything new. It's not trying to do anything new, but it is a free-to-play game that I will applaud. That just doesn't feel like it's a free-to-play game. It feels like a fully realized MMO. I'm not being asked 1,000 times to like, well, if you want to do this, you better get this. You know, like if you want to like change what your character looks like, yeah, you're gonna have to invest a little money to like get like character change tokens and stuff like that. But like I expect that kind of stuff. ESO is kind of the same way, you know, like most MMOs these days are kind of, and you pay for ESO, you have to pay to play that game, you know. So I don't know. I just feel like there's enough there to warrant a try if you like MMOs. It's free. It's not predatory. Maybe it is later, but like in the I'm not gonna get to the end game in this game. You know what I mean? So it's just like
for sure.
Yeah. So it's like I'm never gonna see these like probably more predatory like aspects that are probably baked into way later in the game. But at the very beginning, it's smooth sailing. I'm liking it quite a bit. But
yeah, I mean it's free to play. It's one of those ones that if you like MMOs and kind of this real magical fantasy setting and deep RPGs, it's worth a look, especially if you're kind of like either me or Kyle, where MMOs have been a part of your gaming history that you've really enjoyed. Why not give it a try? And if you don't like it, great. It was free. You don't have to spend anything.
No, like, uninstall it. You're fine. Yeah.
I played it for over an hour. I'll probably play it a little more. I haven't even seen an option yet to purchase anything so far. Yeah. So like it's just been the opening of a game, and they've just been teaching me stuff, and I'm meeting characters. I'm meeting like a chubby version of Chadley from Final Fantasy VII.
He does look like Chadley. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I think his name is also with a C, right? No, wait, what is his name?
I don't remember.
Anyway, he's your Chadley. But yeah, man, I think it's pretty cool. Is it amazing? I don't know. I think it's getting 7s and 8s on average, which is actually pretty good.
That seems about right. Yeah.
Think about the cynicism in our review system these days. We just talked about it with Starfield, and we see it elsewhere as well. Like a game like Gotham Knights was not a 4. It just wasn't. Like objectively,
that's insane.
It's
you know
not
what I mean?
a 4.
Yeah.
But there's a cynicism in what, like, whether it's expectations or whatever the thing, whatever, like. I have a friend who worked there and the conditions were bad, so 4. Like, I don't know what the thing was that made them so mad, but like, think of the cynicism in reviews these days. This is getting, I think, mid 70s on average, which is pretty good.
It's not surviving bad. The cynicisms, yeah.
It's surviving the cynicisms, especially because you're right. It doesn't do a whole lot. I think visually it feels pretty unique in a lot of ways. Like a giant flying whale with these giant glass boar tusk-looking things or blades that are coming out of its face.
Cool, like character. I'm sorry, models for enemies and stuff like that. There is, and I like the topography of the world. There's a lot of like hills, and I don't know. It's just like it's not just like a flat world. There's a lot going on,
Yeah, it's got a very magical look and feel to it. So visually, maybe a little more unique. Maybe gameplay wise, doesn't sound like it's going to stand out from the crowd, but it does a solid job at all the things you want it to do.
Yeah, right? So, and I like MMO systems. It's Final Fantasy 12 system, if you will, the Gambit system. Not exactly that, but like that idea that your character is just kind of attacking, and then whenever you can, you do a skill that it's on a cooldown. That's how I expect an MMO to play, and I don't.
Dude, you know how many times I was sitting there with one hand eating the piece of pizza, and like just hitting 1, 2,
so good.
1, 3.
I'll walk into a field and I'll have auto target on and just like hit the attack button. I'll just walk around like grinding, and I'm like, I like this. I like grinding, in MMOs, and I like killing 1,000 boars, and I like that stuff. I don't know. So
I remember when I played as the trooper in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and he had this thing where he could just lean back and just launch these grenades into a group. It was like an area of effect. I would just do that while snacking, like, boom, area of effect, kill them. It was awesome. I love that kind of stuff, man.
It's fun.
Brings back good memories. But yeah, Throne and Liberty, pretty solid game, and it's a good pedigree of the folks who put it together as well. You can tell. A couple of the new things that are out this week. Until Dawn is out on PC, and I've heard that there's a pretty strong. I don't know if it's a remake, remaster, or just a port. I actually don't know for sure. But anyway,
I don't know what if it's.
It's out on PC, and I've heard though that either this version or if they're doing a remake, I've just heard that the remake or remaster has a really strong a teaser for a sequel. Like they're working on something because I think there's a movie in the works too. So
I think there's a movie. Yeah.
I think Until Dawn, the gears are turning in that IP, which is cool.
I love that IP so much. So yeah, it is. That's good for it, man.
I played a little bit of The Last Plague Blight. You guys can check it out on our YouTube channel. I put up like the first, I don't know what it was, 30 or 40 minutes of it. It is an isometric survival game. It's just a pure survival game. I think there's combat that kicks in later. I didn't get super far into it. I'm not great at these kind of games that are really like realistic survival, but I do like them. I like the idea of like, okay, you literally have to collect everything, create little stockpiles, just get the bare minimum of water and food so you can survive to the next day, to collect a little more wood this time, a few more twigs. Like now you can set rabbit snares because now you can get meat, which makes you a little bit stronger. Now you can do a little more work the next day. Like it's a grind, but like that is part of the fun of the journey of survival games for people who like them.
Yeah, I agree.
So it has that. I like the art style. I think it looks pretty cool. The isometric overview, I kind of like that too because I can see where things are. And all you do is hit one key, you hit Alt, and it will automatically put a label above every item that you can interact with. Because at first I was like, how am I going to spot small rocks? Like the ground is very detailed and I can't tell what's a rock and what's just a texture on the ground. Right. And as soon as I hit Alt, I just left it on. I was like, oh, cool. Now I can see everything. I can see every plant I can collect, every piece of stick or twig or rock or leaf I can pick up. So, but it's everything from, even when you create a fire, depending on the kind of tinder and lighting mechanisms that you've collected and put together, you have a percentage chance of successfully even starting the fire, or you might waste that stuff because the better stuff you collect, the higher the percentage chance that you'll successfully start the fire. So it's pretty realistic in that way. It limits how much you can carry. Like when you cut down a tree, you got to bring the logs over and you have to chop them into smaller pieces of firewood. Like it's a survival game. And And it's set in this world where there's this blight where if you drink the water or get in the water even, or go near like this kind of cloudy, hazy, poison mist looking stuff, you have a blight meter that's going to build up, and
Oh, cool. Okay.
of course you don't want
And,
that to happen,
and
so
are
you're
you
trying to
all?
fight that
Do you
battle.
always kind of have an objective to do? Is there always something you're aiming for,
All I've done
or?
so far is like it's teaching me like, okay, now build a shelter. Like I think that's as far
Hmm.
as I got. I built up to like do the, chop down a tree and build your fireplace and
Yeah.
create some stockpiles. It teaches you how you can craft a stockpile for everything from twigs to sticks to logs to everything else, rocks, and then shelter. But I think from there it's going to go into like now go explore this space or go find the source of the blight in this area or whatever and clear
Yeah.
it out. So yeah, it's a pretty cool survival game if
I
you
might have to
like
check this
survival
out.
games.
I like survival games. I think the
Yeah,
things I liked about Power World the most were the survival aspects of it, not
yeah.
really the monster fighting aspects of it. So,
It's a slower pace. Like some games, the
yeah.
survival pace is quicker and it rewards you much more quickly. This one, I think you got to work. It's not as hard as other ones. I played some that are so tough, like I think it was the Long Dark. I
That
thought
one's
that
rough. I
I
played
thought
that
that
one,
was
yeah.
a tough survival game. Now, people who are into those games might be like, "Pff,
Yeah.
easy. Okay, fair enough.
Green
I
Hell was
thought that
another
game was
really hard one that I'm like, I feel like you have to be a doctor to know what this game is. Yeah. Because, like, there's so many things. Like, you got Giardia. You need to figure out how to heal yourself with these herbs. I'm like, I don't
how?
know. Yeah. Like, just start putting herbs together and
Do
start
I just
swallowing
type the
them.
word heal? What do I do here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is probably in the middle. Like something like a Valheim is a very forgiving on the survival end of things.
Yeah, sure.
It's got survival elements for sure, but it's not super. If you don't like eat, for example, you don't die of starvation,
Yeah.
you don't have that stress.
Right.
It's more like you just don't have your health buff or your stamina buff if you haven't eaten. That's all.
Yeah.
So that one's more forgiving. This one's probably somewhere in the middle where you certainly do need to eat and drink, but it makes it pretty easy. Like you get a big stone and a small stone, and then you spend some time just smashing the big stone until it has the shape of a bowl to it. And now you can go
Hmm.
collect water and you boil it. Now you can drink that. And so you kind of get into these rhythms of doing these things. Um, so yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's a medieval setting, I think, although you're just in the wilderness, so it's hard to say, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of in a medieval time frame. So yeah. I also played a little bit of Kill Knight. This
Oh yeah,
game that
I've
is
seen
out.
this game. Yeah. Yeah.
It's got a real like grungy, staticky sound and look to everything about it. Everything's red and black, but kind of distorted and like the signal's not really strong. It just has a really strong style to it, which I think is appealing. And the reviews on it are so good. I had to grab it. It is an arcade style game. Like survive as long as you can to see how high of a
It's like
score
a
you
twin
can
stick
get.
shooter, right? Kind of.
A little bit, although you actually do hit buttons to attack, so you don't
Okay.
use the other
Okay.
stick to attack.
I gotcha.
But it,
Okay.
it, it is in the term like there are elements where I'm like, ooh, this feels like Vampire Survivors because I'm getting swarmed. And
Yeah.
if you do things the right way, there's a lot, by the way. If you watch my playthrough, which is also on a YouTube channel, I'm not great at it, guys. I'm just not. I'm just not great. But I started to feel the groove of it by the time I ended my play session. It was like 17, 18 minutes that I played and recorded. But you have a sword, and so you have that you got a shotgun move that you have to use the sword to get ammo for. So you have to slice enemies to pick up ammo for your shotgun that does this incredibly powerful blast. And then you have your kind of it's like a bolt gun looking thing or an Uzi looking gun that you can just spray enemies with. It doesn't do as much damage, but if you hit the reload at the right time, think Gears of War, now your bullets start to glow and they do way more damage for a few
Oh, cool.
seconds. And so it's little like you have all these little mechanics that are worked in there. As you collect these little gems that you pick up from each of the enemies, these little shards or whatever they are, you build up this other meter that allows you to then send a huge orb across the stage, wiping everything out and killing them that way. So like you're constantly building up different things to activate new moves because the enemies are getting tougher and there's more and more coming and there's more and more coming and it's just one of those like how far can you survive? There might be more to it than that. There might be additional levels, there might be a roguelike element to it where once you get to a certain point, now you either start somewhere new or the challenges are different. I don't know, but all I know is the opening section that I've played I think 3 or 4 times. It's pretty cool. You're on a platform that has edges to it, so you have limited space to move around, and you just have to think Vampire Survivors. Your maneuvering has to be really precise. So you don't get stuck in a corner and then get swarmed. You have to kind of keep moving, shooting, swinging, blasting, and it's got a cool style to it. So if you like an arcade style, like really fast paced, it's isometric view.
Mm.
Um, and you're killing a lot of these creepy alien monsters that are.
It's like a knight with like a gun, right? Like he's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this whole like lore to it. I actually kind of forget what the lore is to it, but basically you're pushed down. You're at the top of the hill. You got these monks with these robes on and stuff, and you kind of stand there as like you like sacrificing yourself on the edge of this giant cliff. They push you and you fall, and you land and start fighting these things.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and I think the idea is every time you do a run, you're another sacrifice pushed down there to fight this demon horde or whatever. So yeah, it's cool. It's got a really neat style to it as well. Every time I see the red and black, I always think of like Virtual Boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a pretty cool.
Maybe this one doesn't give you headaches, so
Oh my gosh, did you ever play the Virtual Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you own one?
No. My buddy down the street had one, and I don't know. Okay. We maybe picked that thing up like 2 or 3 times. Like it was not a.
They had a space
not the
game
system we grew to.
That I played. They had some kind of puzzle game, like a Tetris-y looking thing, and then I remember playing tennis. There was like a tennis game on there, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
But I didn't know anyone who owned it. We only got it because at one point, I think it was either Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, that let you rent consoles. Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So we rented it for like a week.
That's cool. That's a fun one. That's a fun thing to rent.
Yeah.
Just get some peepers on it and give it away.
I remember it was like a big deal. We had to sign all this stuff. I think my dad had to sign because it had to be someone over 18 to like basically prove like you're gonna pay for this if it's broken or gone, right? Like,
yeah, right.
It was that. But anyway. All right, so Kill Knight is a pretty good one. And last but not least for this week, I wanted to highlight Rogue Waters because I've talked about it before. I like a good pirate game, and I like a good roguelike too. I am absolutely in on this game. I think it's super fun.
So cool. Oh, awesome.
I love it. I think it's great. So it is it's got like this Pirates of the Caribbean style, like magical pirate story where you're trying to get this artifact, and then at some point you're betrayed, and then you kind of wake up and all this time has passed. You're like, what? That much time has passed? And now you have to kind of go, and you are now captain rebuilding a crew to go and get revenge and get whatever. So it's a cool little like piratey storyline that's happening. And then they explain, like, because you are now immortal in a way, every time you die, you and your crew, who's now immortal too because they're on your crew, you can level up now and get stronger for your next time. So that's the roguelike piece that like when you die, everyone's like, this, I've never done this before. Like maybe you're used to dying, but I'm not. Like so it's they actually talk about it. And so I like that part of it. But you can upgrade your ship. So you can buy all these cannons. You can open up new areas to add more cannons. Some of them, of course, do more damage. Some can target the enemies before you go into the skirmishes. Some can target like you might upgrade cabins on your ship, which means that maybe your crew each has 1 additional health point or something when you get to the skirmish. But if they target your cabins before the skirmish starts, when you're just doing the ship to ship battle, you're going to lose that health bonus if they destroy it in that ship battle. So like there's some strategy at every level of this. So the way it happens is think like in a roguelike game where there's usually a map, and then it usually gives you, maybe it's Hades, there's 2 doors, maybe in Shogun Showdown there's 2 paths. You got to pick one or the other, and you're going to fight a certain type of enemy or maybe go get an upgrade. So it's got that, and so you pick which direction your ship goes. You get into a ship to ship battle with cannons first. And the idea is that you have a certain number of, I think they call them like cannon command points or something. So you get to fire off 2 shots before they do. Some of your cannons are so powerful, they are going to take up both of those shots. So you got to be careful. If you do that, you only get 1 shot, and then they get however many shots to come back at you. But the idea is there's a couple rounds of that, and then regardless of the outcome, you go into the skirmishes. And so what you could do there, let's say that you want their enemies to start the hand-to-hand combat with less health, just forget their cannons and just target the enemies, and you'll like diminish their health before the skirmish starts. But if you do that, you might leave yourself open to being hit on your cannon, so the next time around you won't have a cannon for the next fight because it got destroyed because you didn't protect it. So like there's a lot of strategy and thinking ahead, and like what am I trying to do on this run? Do I want to like really power up my ship or whatever? So yeah, you get to the hand-to-hand combat, and it's a little grid-based pirate ship setting, and you can do everything from use ropes to swing around to get farther, or you can pin them against the railing, and if you attack them strong enough, you can push them over the side and defeat them in 1 hit. You can get a spear maiden who can hit 2 in a row. There's lots of different, and you can unlock these flintlock pistols where you can hit them from a distance. So it's a turn-based strategy game
That's cool.
in the ship battles. So
I think that sounds awesome.
There's a roguelike element to it, of course, because each run there's going to be certain things that are your perks for that run, but over time you're upgrading everything on your ship and with your character, and you can level up. You have these standard crewmates that are just kind of just guys with swords, like nameless, faceless, just kind of crewmates that'll help you. But you can recruit actual like sea mates that you can level up over time, and they have names and they have stats and they have special abilities, and so you can actually build out a squad of like your people that you have hired on every time you go back to your main base. So anyway, I think it's a really cool game. Rogue Waters is really great. I really like it.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I think it sounds right up my alley. I'll have to check it out. Is it only on PC right now?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So I really dig Rogue Waters. Anytime there's a pirate game out, almost regardless of the genre, I'm like, well, I'll look at it real quick.
You have to. Yeah.
I'll just look at it.
Yeah, pirates are cool, man. I don't know. I'm always down.
Super fun. So I think that's it for new stuff this week. Of course, we had the Shattered Space DLC and an MMO, so a little bit different when it comes to new releases that we usually talk about around these parts, and then a couple little indie games. But yeah, and it is like we talked about the first week or two even of this month are just a little quieter. Like there's some major stuff with DLC.
Yeah.
Next week we have the Diablo 4 DLC.
Yeah, Diablo 4 and Silent Hill, which is reviewing very well.
Silent Hill 2 is getting great reviews. That comes out next week. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, there are a few headlines that I wanted to highlight. I'm trying to keep it positive. I'm going to keep this episode super positive since Dan's not here. Always bringing us down.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, Dan. So Halo Infinite is getting, I didn't expect this, a third-person mode next week.
What? Yeah, what?
Why? No, whatever.
I guess it's something for this.
I guess so. It's something they've been talking about for a while, but
all right, whatever.
Hey, I'll stand by the fact that I really enjoyed that campaign a lot.
Halo Infinite rocks. Yeah, people. This is another one that like I think the internet word of mouth kind of killed, but like Halo Infinite's doing very well online right now, despite like all the controversies and stuff. Like it's got a dedicated fan base and it like weekly updates, so it's like it's doing well.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I love that.
Third person.
Third person. Why not? Diablo 4 and the expansion Vessel of Hatred are confirmed to be PS5 Pro enhanced. So Microsoft continues to love stuff on other platforms, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He's like, I don't care. I'm getting all the money for every sale of this. So yeah.
So yeah, both the main game and the expansion comes out next week. When the PS5 Pro is out, it's going to be probably in a similar way that they would enhance things or have enhancements available for PC versions. So it's probably not that tough to have like different benchmarks that are coded for it. But I don't know, maybe it is a big deal. And also, so this is all Xbox news. We're an Xbox podcast.
That's right.
Because you think of Hi-Fi Rush, you think Xbox. I know they don't own them anymore, and they stupidly shut them down. But apparently, the PUBG publisher is still planning on they really want Hi-Fi Rush 2 to be a success. So they're already talking about it, and Tango has said they want the second one to be more of an open world type experience.
Cool.
Which is very cool. Yeah, because it was very mission based. Take a small idea and make it big, Yep. So I think there's tons of stuff you can do when you have a music centric game like that. I think of stuff like Psychonauts 2 where they just got super creative and had tons of little side things to explore and to do. And this game could totally do that kind of thing as well. But anyway, so that's it for headlines and such. And so what else have you been, anything else you're spending time playing or watching that you want to highlight? Doesn't have to be quick. It's just two of us. You got time.
Yeah, but it sadly will be quick because I haven't really been playing much. I have been like I was getting Shattered Space save file ready. I'm getting my Diablo 4 character ready for the expansion.
Oh, nice.
I haven't played since the big loot update. And I didn't know what that meant, but I figured it out real quick. When I logged in, all of my gear was old, and it showcased it by having a giant red skull on it, meaning you shouldn't use this. And I mean, I walked in and I went to the next world tier a little early to kind of make it hard for myself because my build was really good. But now I'm getting one hit by everything because my gear is not good or tuned anymore because it's old gear. So I'm having some growing pains a little bit. So I'm having to like just kind of grind mobs right now and and hope that like okay gear drops for me so I can kind of stand up against some of this stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I got a lot of work to do before this expansion comes out. So I really need to get my character in a place where it's ready. So I have been grinding that out quite a bit. And that game's just fun to go back to. I feel like there's new stuff. Like there's a lot of quests on my map that I'm like, I don't remember any of this stuff being here. So maybe over the last year they've been adding little side stuff, or maybe they're just side stuff I just missed. I don't really know, but I do have plenty to do that keep me busy in that game while the expansion gets ready. And I'm excited for that expansion. The 2.0 update and the expansion is getting a lot of great word of mouth. People are saying it doesn't really push the story really far forward. It feels kind of like a prologue for the next part of the story, but like all the mechanics that they've added, like really have turned this into like a well enjoyed game now. Where I feel like maybe that first year Diablo, it was hit and miss for people. It kind of depended on even here on the podcast, like Dan didn't really like it, I really liked it. I feel like it's a pretty divisive game, just kind of depending on who you talk to. You're going to get different.
And it depends on what they want out of Diablo, right? Like if someone just wants a single player, like give me a campaign and a fun RPG romp. Others who want kind of that, give me the bottomless entertainment that Diablo has been for me in the past. I know that there were varying levels of enjoyment depending on what you want.
Yeah, it absolutely kind of matters on what you're kind of bringing and what you want from the series. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if I'll try out the new class. I don't know. I like the class that
What's it called? What's the new one?
Spirit Caller, I forget, but it's like it's basically like a jungle monk, like where you're like half druid, half monk. You're like can call like the spirit of animals to help you fight, but you're also kind of like monkish.
Okay, I can picture it now from the dude. That trailer was wacky, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of the CG trailers are super cool in this game, and I like the story of the first game a lot. Like, and I don't really care about Diablo stories. I remember playing 3 and being like, okay, like I don't know what's going on here. 4 has like a really good coherent story with like a really good story structure. And like the girl you're seeing in that like cutscene or whatever, like she's a main character like in the original game. So it's like the stakes for what's going on with her are very high. If you're invested in that, so it is cool. I am excited to get the next piece of the story, and I don't know how long it's going to be before this whole story is told. Like I don't know how long they're piecing this out. This is a year later, over a year, almost a year and a half later. They're putting out new content for the game. Is that going to be the schedule? Is it every year and a half? I don't really know, but I am excited to play it, but yeah, that's kind of all I've been playing right now. Besides the other stuff we were talking about, I was sneaking that in, playing a little bit of Zelda. Got through that first area, that first boss where you fight, a particular boss and get a skill there, which is really cool.
It's really cool.
And I just and I'm on my way to Gerudo Valley. And that's been really fun. And it dawned on me too that I'm like, Gerudo Valley is always southwest. Like on every Zelda ever. Like
yes, it is.
Even in Ocarina of Time, when you walk out of the castle gates and you go this way, you go left or right. I'm sorry, right out of the castle, and Gerudo Valley's right there. So it's like, it just dawned on me. I'm like, they're keeping like consistency of where they put this stuff, and like I can't believe I'm just now figuring this out, this late in the game. But
and the Zora stuff's usually on the east, sometimes northeast, sometimes just east. In this case, it's straight to the east.
Yep. Oh, it's always right over there, in accordance to where the castle is. So yeah, I am enjoying that game. That game is so cool. That game is so jolly. I like that game a lot. I'm not putting a lot of time into it, but I know it's going to be something I'm picking up here and there and just being like, let me get a little further. Sooner or later I'll be down there hanging out with the Gerudo. But I'm enjoying those two games quite a bit. I guess the only thing I want to call out is in the midst of all this superhero fatigue that we're all feeling, the Penguin, the show is awesome.
I keep hearing good things.
So incredible. I've never seen The Sopranos. People are calling it The Sopranos. I don't know. Yeah, it feels like a really good mafia story. Like Batman is not in it at all. Like he's not. They don't even like really talk about him at all. Like maybe in like newscasting, like things in the background, they're like the vigilante, blah blah blah. But like he's not part of this story. It feels like a mafia crime story. It feels like the game Mafia. It doesn't feel. Everybody's vying for power in this power vacuum that Falcone left whenever he died from the movie, and it's just like. It's so good. And the lady who plays the mother in How I Met Your Mother plays the daughter of Carmine Falcone. And she is nuts. She's nuts. She plays like this psychopath character who's like, there's just like this thing that's behind her performance that you're like, she's about to explode like into rage, and like just the way that she plays it is so.
I've seen her before. She was in like the Black Mirror Star Trek
She's in the Star Trek episode of Black Mirror. Yeah,
she's great.
She's a really good actress. Yeah,
she's also in that one episode of Mythic Quest that had no business being as good as it was. Do you remember that one?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's like a flashback to how the building was used before
with Jake Johnson. Yeah, she's the husband and wife or whatever. Yeah, yeah. She's great, and it's funny because she was going for the lead role in the Wicked musical because she's a musician, like she can sing and she's really musically talented, and she lost out on that role, and so she's like, "Fine, I'll go be a psychopath on Penguin," and it's just like a weird consolation prize that she's like now kind of killing and finally getting the recognition she deserves as an actress. I think a lot of people are like, "Whoa, this lady's really good at acting," you know, and Colin Farrell's great too, but like we knew that, you know, that's not news.
The time lapse of him getting the makeup on is incredible.
It's he's also said that he never wants to be in that costume ever again, and I'm like, I get it.
I don't blame him, man. It looks rough.
Being in a movie for a few scenes is way different than being the main character of an hour-long TV show weekly, where you're in almost every scene. So it's probably real rough being in that thing. But yeah, it's very, very, very good, and it's like not superhero-y at all. Like you're not getting those like the stuff that we're all tired of.
Which I kind of like, because if you think about the characters, like the villains like Penguin, like for the most part, they're unconcerned with Batman. They don't care about what he's doing. It's not until he steps into their space and interrupts and causes havoc that they're like, "What? What are you doing here?"
What the heck, man? Yeah. And a lot of the stuff takes place during the day, you know. So obviously, like Batman's not out prowling and stuff like that, you know. And it's good. I really like it. I highly recommend giving it a look if people really like the Matt Reeves Batman movie, which you should. You should like that movie.
It's a good movie. Everything's a little dark in that movie, so maybe watch it when there's no lights. Like, don't watch it with lights on and stuff.
Yeah. Right. Maybe come in an emo mood, you know. Maybe wear some makeup.
Now that I'm thinking about it, what Batman movie isn't mostly dark? You know what I mean? Like most of them.
It's true. It was pretty dark though. It was pretty.
That one is extra dark.
I hope your TV shows blacks pretty well. Yeah. The color. Yeah. I hope it displays.
That movie was mostly like blacks and then like lighter black and then like.
There's a lot of me like hearing like his footsteps and like not seeing him, and I'm like, oh no, there he is. But you hear his footsteps 20 steps before you actually see him.
Yeah.
What you been playing?
I was watching. I did finish the Mr. McMahon, the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix.
I talked about this on the podcast.
I gotta tell you, I watched the first episode, and I messaged you guys about this too. I was like, I've seen all this before. I feel like maybe not all of it, but I just feel like and part of me was like, I do like to revisit some pop culture stuff, whether it's wrestling or music or gaming or TV shows that I've enjoyed. But there are times when I'm like, I feel like I recently went down memory lane in some other documentary fashion with this thing.
So we all watched Dark Side of the Ring, right?
Yes.
Like, don't you watch that too? So it's like that is all very fresh. Yeah, it is all very fresh.
But I gotta tell you, as the show went on, just the way this one's pieced together, and it's really centered around the person of Vince McMahon and the character of Mr. McMahon, and honestly, the way that they pretty much align in so many ways. That gave it a very unique flavor, and you do get some insights, especially as it progresses, that you didn't have before. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're not a wrestling fan, don't waste your time. Like, it's fine.
No. But if unless like you're doing a character study on like Egomaniacs or something like that, like But I don't know if you're gonna get anything out of this if you like hate wrestling, you know?
Because there's not really anyone else like it. Like, you can't be like, oh, cool, I'll watch this because this is what CEOs of entertainment companies are like. It's like, I don't think so. Like,
there's nobody like him.
He's such a unique, strange person. His ego is so big. Even listening to him as an old man do the interviews that they had recorded, like he's an egomaniac. Even the way he tries to sound humble are so full of ego.
I know the moments where he goes out of his way to try to sound humble, he sounds more like a crazy person. It's kind of nuts to me. And there was many moments where he goes, "I will never apologize for anything I've ever done."
I know.
Ever. I'm like, why are you saying that so much? It's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are people there that I've always kind of liked as characters in wrestling, but also outside of wrestling in the years since, as they've done interviews and kind of opened up as humans.
Yep.
Like Mark, is it Holloway? Whatever, the guy who plays Undertaker, and of course Steve Austin. But hearing them and their just bottomless love of Vince, I get it.
Yes.
I get it. because he kind of like made your career.
It's true, yeah.
But there's certainly blinders on because I'm like, you have to have known a lot of the stuff that was going on, man.
Y'all are back there. Everyone's in the trenches, you know.
And so for him,
feel
like, I would take a
think
bullet for that man and start crying. I'm like,
yeah,
you knew what he was doing to some
well,
of the
and like
ladies,
Dark
right?
Side of the Ring has shown that everyone is very privy to exactly how the industry works. If you're in the industry,
yeah.
So you know, it's not like Stone Cold is like exempt from that. Dude, you were the biggest star. You were back there, you know.
That's right.
And I love Stone Cold. But yeah, he said a few things in that documentary. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, yeah, because like clearly CTE is real brain damage. Like,
yeah. There's actual science behind it.
You could make an argument maybe that there's still a lot to learn about who's more or less susceptible to it, whose behaviors and personalities will actually change because of it. I've seen this in, with friends of mine who have had family members who have had a head injury that has changed who they are completely. They haven't like gotten dumber or anything. They can still function the same way, but their personality and relationships changed overnight. I've seen that happen, and it's terrifying because we don't know everything about the brain and how
it's what happened to the comedian Sam Kinison. Like he, as a kid, he was like a straight A student who was like really by the books, had a bike accident or something of that nature, hit his head, and is now, or he's dead now, obviously, but like became this like screaming, crazy, over the top comedian, you know. So like, and like you said, it changed like the second that it happened. Like,
and I think we saw that with, of course, Chris Benoit, which I'm kind of glad they directly talk about him, because a lot of times WWE tries to
about that,
they try to like just do whiteout on his name and try to blur out his face if they can't. And I'm just like, come on, just address it. Like,
he exists.
It was a tragedy. He was a very talented wrestler for you.
Well, and beloved by his peers. Yeah, beloved by his peers too.
Obviously, with the reaction they had when they first heard news of him dying, they of course were all crying their eyes out, did a big tribute to him, and then of course had to admit in the moment, like almost immediately, details of what happened came out, and we had to like almost pretend like that never happened, and just at that point you can't even address it because now it's just embarrassing that you just celebrated this guy who killed his son and his wife and himself in this horrific thing. So that was eye-opening and interesting. It was interesting to hear it from Vince's point of view, but also to hear guys like Stone Cold say like, I'm just not a CTE guy. I just don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, buddy. This isn't a religion. This is kind of like
no one
they have
asked you to believe in it.
They have scans of a brain. Like, here's the brain.
This is Chris Benoit's brain. It looks like shit. This is a regular person's brain.
Exactly. They were like, it was so deteriorated from CTE.
And they said he had the brain of like an 88-year-old or something like that.
They said it was so damaged.
And then they showed, I had forgotten,
his whole life. I think of Chris Benoit, and I think of a whole bunch of different moves that he does, like the repeat German suplexes and stuff like that. But then I forgot one of his big things was get on the turnbuckle and do like a head first. The headbutt thing, where he would just fall on you with his head.
That's where he got it from.
and they did like a quick sizzle reel of him doing it, and I was like,
oh yeah. You can't fake hitting your head with something. You're just hitting your head on stuff at that point.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Stone Cold situation was when he was like didn't want to believe like CTA was real. Like, I feel like that should have been a moment where you realize, hey, the guy I knew wasn't a monster after all, who just snapped and killed his family. There's a reason that it happened, and I'm relieved exactly that a guy that I coveted as a coworker and as an artist, or however you want to you word it or whatever, has now been exonerated of being this monster that he got painted as after all the information came out.
Yeah, he was I just don't legitimately believe that, brain injured.
Absolutely. And when you hear about the back room stories about how nice he was and how giving he was and how much of a team player he was, that's not a guy who goes home and murders his family. You know, like obviously something snapped, you know, in terms of his brain injury. Even hearing
Vince in this moment, I think it was just an encapsulated how he always operated. He used the word storyline so many times throughout it. But I noticed it wasn't just in reference to wrestling storylines. He even talked about the Chris Benoit stuff. It's like everything's a storyline to him. Everyone else is a character. And he chose the storyline of that was a monster who was hiding who he really was from us. And I was just like, dang, he thinks everything's a storyline. Like, that is crazy.
One more thing that I thought was the biggest takeaway of the entire documentary is and I'm not celebrating this, just FYI, but I just want to say, if you were up to no good, the genius behind turning your like your bad stories into storylines for your character. So now like it blurs so much what's real and what's fake.
But everyone's gonna tune in now.
Yeah, well, not only that, but when you hear news that like, well, Vince McMahon's like a rapist, I'm like, well, yeah, he's had a lot of storylines in wrestling where like he's cheating on his wife who's in a coma, and like, so you almost kind of like it softens the blow where you're like, well, yeah, I kind of knew that, and you kind of in the moment not forgive him, but go, yeah, no, duh, and it kind of softens it instead of elevate. Like we should be all mad that this guy's out here doing all the stuff that he did, but instead, for years, we were just kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's Vince, right? He's a bad guy, you know, and like that's because of the manipulation that he did, and like this is where he's really again smart. Not in a way I want to celebrate him, but like he was a good sociopath. He knew how to weaponize like his wrongdoings and to blur them and hide them from the public in a way by masquerading them around his storylines in his fiction, you know, and like that's where the complicated stories come from, because I notice that and go, wow, that's a smart man, but you're using that all for evil, you know, like you're using it all for creative evil, you know.
Yep. So. Yeah, and a lot of it failed, and like as they went through some of the stuff, I was like, oh yeah, that was a real dumb story idea.
Dude,
like, that one
like the one with his wife being in a coma was the weirdest story.
So
I forgot that that's how they introduced Trish Stratus too, which I was just like, oh my god, I forgot that that's how they introduced her. You know,
dumb.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff there. Oh, and the Sable stuff too. That stuff where he was like, I don't remember Sable. I'm like, bullshit, dude. You don't remember? He's like, yeah, I don't. I just know. Oh, she was the girl that came back after she sued us. That's right. Yeah, she came back and worked for us.
Such a liar.
So yeah, and just like totally blew it on. Like, didn't even recognize that they were like sexual harassment. Didn't even address them, even though the guy who was interviewing directly asked him. He's just like, no. She came back and worked for us. There was nothing wrong there. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really living in his own like his own fiction that he created, you know?
Yeah, everything's a storyline.
Very crazy. Yeah, everything's a storyline. Yeah.
It's a fascinating watch if you were a wrestling fan whatsoever. I do think it was interesting to see. And the first episode does rehash stuff that if you are a wrestling fan, you've probably heard of.
You've heard the territory stories 1,000 times.
But then it starts to get some interesting places in the following episodes, as you just heard.
So, yeah, the Shane and Vince stuff is really good. His son, like, there's a lot of really
bad for that kid.
Yeah, even the Stephanie stuff, like, it's just like I've never heard of either of them talk out of character before ever in my entire life, so it was cool to see that. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I watched that, really enjoyed it, and then played a lot of Echoes of Wisdom, played a lot of Zelda. I just finished the Zora area, and I am now on to, I don't think it's the final one because there's a lot of the map I haven't uncovered, so either there's a lot of optional map area and I am at the final spot, which I don't think I am, or like it feels final, but there's going to be more. There's going to be another area to go to after this, but it is a full-fledged Zelda game, man. There's plenty of things to do. There's lots of side quests to do. There's plenty of pieces of heart that are challenging to reach. There's lots of puzzles to solve. I mean, it's great, and some of the little echoes that you get really make things fun. And you also collect ingredients for these smoothies that you make, which you'll meet in Gerudo Valley, the guy who makes smoothies, and that's the replacement for food. So you collect all these different types of
all my amiibos are giving me ingredients, and I'm like, where's the smoothie guy? Like, I have so many ingredients because of these dumb amiibos. I've been scanning it every day.
He's like this one of those plants. He looks like a plant that pops up from out of the ground, and he'll be all excited to sell you smoothies. But yeah, you just have to experiment. You just mix together 2 random ingredients, and then now you have a recipe for something.
I was gonna say, does it save if you like crack a good recipe? Cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. So, and it does a lot of the stuff that you've seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where it might like help you swim faster for a minute, or make you cold resistant for a while, or heat resistant, or whatever. So like, it has some similar buffs that we've seen from recent Zelda games, which is really cool. Which is really helpful in the Zora space. I recommend making a few fast swim or longer oxygen meter type smoothies before you go in there. But some of the powers, some of the echoes that they give you are like, oh, this actually adds a whole new gameplay element of ways I can get around. Don't get me wrong. I still love using the beds to build my little step bridges. Those are still great. But there are some other creative ways to, for example, just now you can go vertical with a certain echo that you get. Now there's certain enemies that they attack quick enough, even though they're weak, that I just like summon a bunch of them all at once. The way that you level up also, it doesn't always just give you a new charge. Actually, I've only gotten one additional charge. it allows you to now throw it farther, so you can like echo something, but then like toss it farther away from you.
Okay, cool.
So that's one upgrade that you'll get, and then you get an upgrade where certain things, and it shows you which ones now cost one less charge to use. And so things that were expensive are like one less. So they continue to let you
things
upgrade.
out on the map. Yeah.
So man, it's super fun. There's lots of secrets too. Like you said, climbing up on trees and on top of walls and that kind of stuff. You're supposed to. There's a lot of secrets that you can only access through building your own little stairways and trampolines to get up high. So there's more elevation to it than you would think. So yeah, highly encouraged to get on top of the trees and the buildings and anything that you can get on top of. So
fun.
Yeah, it's a really, really good game. Super, super charming, and still loving it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I am absolutely going to wrap up Shattered Space. You know what Throne and Liberty might end up doing? It might not necessarily be the game that hooks me, but now it's got me like, is there another MMO I want to play again though? Like it's got me thinking that a little bit.
I know you brought up that you played like New World a little bit, like when it first came out or when it was in beta or whatever. I played the beta a couple weeks ago on the PlayStation. And I was like, this is okay. Like, you know, like I don't know if that's where I'm going. Obviously, it's you have to pay for that one, you know. But like,
I think people like it now. I do.
I think so too. I think it is coming at a time where like it is mostly a good MMO now. So it's like this may have whetted my appetite enough to like maybe get that. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but I'm kind of in a similar place where I'm like my MMO radar is like on right now.
Do I want to spend countless hours playing the same thing?
No, but I do want to dip in for a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
See how the water is.
You know what? Where it usually lands, I'll research a bunch. I'll probably spend a long time like looking at a bunch, reading some reviews, watching stuff, and then I'll end up just playing Star Wars: The Old Republic again. It's probably
that's true. It's right there. It's free. It's on my computer already.
It's right there. There's still a few of the storylines I have not completed. I haven't done it all. So.
Yeah.
And I have no problem going back to Familiar Planets and doing the same missions again. Like, yep.
It's the coolest. That game is so good.
It's comfort food, man. It's comfort food.
It's so good. I wish there was a way that you could like package that up and all the missions and just put it on console or something so more people would play it.
I still think a console version of that would have been great. Same with WoW. I'm a little surprised those two haven't.
WoW doesn't make any sense to me. Now that it's owned by like Microsoft didn't just go make it controller compatible and let's bring it up. Like no one's had that conversation.
I thought when Activision acquired Blizzard or they merged or whatever happened there, I thought it would come to console for sure.
I thought it was gonna happen then too. Activision's like, we're good at console games. Let's get this bad boy on console. And like millions of people would jump on that game. Are you kidding me?
I know.
Yeah, whatever.
It wouldn't be that hard to just kind of map it to like you mentioned. You got to hold down a button and have a little like cycle wheel.
After 14 has come out, MMOs have not had a hard problem like making
controller
on a controller. Yeah. People figured out the best way to do that.
Yeah.
It is shocking. Man.
Well, I think that does it for us this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for supporting the channel. Always could use those subscribes and likes and sharing things. Trying to do more YouTube shorts and some Let's Plays again this fall. So could always use more views on those too. So thank you guys for supporting. Kyle, thanks for being here. Dan and Jeff, thanks for nothing this week.
Yeah, thanks for sitting it out, guys.
Thanks for nothing. But we'll see you next time.
New games. Yeah.
Next week is spooky game time, right? Vestal of Hatred and Silent Hill 2. So it's time to talk some
I hope Dan shows up with some sleeping hill, Silent Hill underneath him. So.
All right, thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.